Welcome in to week 9 of the College Football Catch-Up podcast for the Stateline Sports Reporters podcast. A little tongue twister there to start off the week.
How do you not start it with a tongue twister?
All the time.
You have to.
For being on TV, words are hard sometimes.
Yes.
A lot of the times.
And the twisty, twirly college football season, it lines up.
Fair enough. Like we were just talking about, week 9 already. We're cruising. All right. We've got no Tennessee this week. They're on a bye.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully next week they come out a little bit better than they did their last bye week. Yikes.
Yeah. That wasn't good.
No, it
That's
wasn't.
kind of what's keeping them on the rope right now.
It was not good. But, they're off. They've got a minute to reset, settle in. All right.
At least they're coming off a big win.
They are. That was fun. A fun one to be at. Both of us were at it. Crazy one. They done tore up the field, so they have an extra.
Yeah, we got to see all the remnants of the chaos.
Put the field back together, give it some goalposts again. Restore the chunks that were taken out of the end zone.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep.
All right. We're gonna start. ETSU at Wofford.
SoCon, baby.
ETSU's also coming off of a bye.
They are. So hopefully they come out strong. I mean, they beat up Wofford last year, and a team that we all know is just tough to see week to week.
Not good.
They won by, 41-10?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that's going to happen this time around.
No.
I think Wofford's a little tougher this year. And it's a road game. That always put that in a factor a little bit. But I don't know. I like where this ETSU team is headed. I think they bounce back, and I think we might be seeing a good performance here on Saturday. I'm feeling a big one from the Bucks this week.
In theory,
kind of a breakout kind of game.
In theory, it should be. That's kind of like coming off of the bye week. We thought Tennessee was going to, blossom. So it's kind of tough because it really is. You have to balance the rest and recovery with. You can't give them too much time away and too much, downtime. You have to keep ramping it up. Wofford 3-4, like you said, they beat up on them last year, but actually in the history of this matchup, Wofford definitely has the upper hand. ETSU actually hasn't won in Spartanburg since I think the 90s is what they said on Monday.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. That's a good stadium there. I've been there. I worked there a little bit when I was interning down in Greenville. So
the beginning days of Lauren Bradford TV.
The beginning days. I have quite the stories to tell from some of those Wofford games, let me tell you.
I'll have to tell them sometime.
But, so this one should be interesting. ETSU does have Cam Lewis and Bryson Irby back. That's huge. There's no other way to say that. Bryson Irby is truly the key there. I asked Coach Lamb about it on Monday, how big his impact is. And he's like, our other two backs, they're talented. They actually, in theory, are faster than Irby, but he just, puts his helmet down, drops a shoulder, and can get those gritty 4 or 5 yard gains that really this ETSU team needs to win these, conference matchups.
Yeah, you need that power back to get you those extra yards because in a game of football, every inch counts, and you need that. So I think definitely a boost for their offense. Cam Lewis is too.
AJ Johnson had a huge game in his absence, had a career game in his absence, tracking back 2 weeks to that Sanford game. But that's definitely huge to have him back. Wofford, they're really good at forcing turnovers, interceptions, fumbles, whatever it may be. But Coach Lamb also said, by virtue of the way that they play, they're going to get those turnovers, but they're also going to give up those big plays. Right. So ETSU definitely has to capitalize on those openings that they see, kind of connect with some of those deep balls, break away for a run. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what we get out of them.
Yeah, 1 or 2 big plays could be the difference, and not turning the ball over will be huge. So I think if they take care of the football, they get a big play here or there, I think Bucks will be all right. Yeah.
All right. We'll move on along. Georgia Tech at Virginia Tech. A nice noon kickoff, bright and early. Going to stay warm-ish, hopefully. It was a little chilly in Blacksburg last time I was there. This is kind of an intriguing one. 5-3 Georgia Tech, 4-3 Virginia Tech, but it kind of seems like, I don't want to say they're going in opposite directions because I don't want to say Georgia Tech's trending down, but I think Virginia Tech's definitely trending up recently.
Yeah.
I think they had a really big win over Boston College, pretty much a complete game, except for a quarter. They played three-fourths.
Except for the third quarter.
And you need to make sure you need to make that 4 out of 4. But Georgia Tech also has a big question mark around their quarterback, and I think that could certainly play a big part. Haynes King is listed as day-to-day, and there's not really been any. Obviously, their coach isn't going to let anyone know who's going to start beforehand, but I would say it's probably not looking good for him.
Yeah, keeping them in limbo. They don't have Haynes under center. I guess we don't know much about their backup, but
I want to say that I saw something where it's like their backup was on one of the Old Dominion teams that actually beat Virginia Tech. Surprise, surprise.
That would be an interesting twist.
Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure I did see that in my scrolling this week.
Well, that would be some kind of twist to bring to Lane Stadium tomorrow, so that would be interesting. But yeah, I think you were right on the trends. Kind of Georgia Tech came out, started the year pretty well. They're still 5-3.
Everyone thought that Florida State was going to be something, and so it was like, oh, they got the win, but then Florida State
turned into a dumpster fire. So yeah, I think Virginia Tech's been playing much, much better than they did to start the year, and I think that's where they're playing like we all expected them to from the jump. Yeah. So I think that's where that trajectory is going up, and this is a game that I just can't see them dropping unless things are just catastrophic. And this turns into a year where Virginia Tech had the hopes of having that maybe 9-win season turn into a 6 or 7. So this is one they need.
Yeah. On that note, where you say you don't see Virginia Tech losing, the visiting team has actually won 8 of the last 9 games in this series. Little fun fact. It's been 12 years since the Hokies last beat Georgia Tech at home. So it's been a little while.
Yeah.
It has been a little while.
That's kind of interesting because when you think of the matchup, you don't think of Georgia Tech being able to take care of business on the road at Virginia Tech. So that's an interesting one. I don't know if it plays here in this instance. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I think Virginia Tech's defense definitely has to rein in Georgia Tech's run game. Bashal Tutin, he was absolutely electric last time out, set the program record for most rushing yards in a single game. Obviously, you're not going to put up that stat line every week, but, he's shown what he can do. He's
a stud.
Yeah, pretty much. So he's got to keep running. A little fun fact, Georgia Tech only allowed 3 sacks all season. Had 4 last week alone? APR. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch right there. See if Virginia Tech's defensive line is able to penetrate that O-line. They've been playing together for a while there at Georgia Tech. So their offensive line is definitely one of the strengths of that team.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see if APR and some of those other guys can break through there.
Get some pressure. They put pressure on the QB, especially if it's a backup. I think things are looking good.
Yeah. If they're able to create that pressure, it definitely works in their favor for sure.
Yep.
All right, we are going to shift right into Lauren's locks. We're going to remind you, we are not professional bettors. I've actually taken a little break from college betting, NFL betting, sports betting in general. I've had a tough fall because I take really bad bets. So I'm pretty sure we haven't hit on any. So, sometimes you need to know when to stop. We're not calling Gamblers Anonymous yet.
That's very good of you.
So we're stepping back from actually placing the bets, but we'll let you know what I would do.
Yes, and theoretically we would do.
In theory. All right, we'll start with ETSU Wofford. No line on this. I think both of us feel pretty good about picking the Bucks in this one, though, right?
Yeah, I would say the line would be set probably if there was one. I would say it'd probably be like ETSU minus 10.5.
See, I was going to say like 14.
14? I was just going a little lower just because I feel like the SoCon's just
the SoCon's
wild.
always crazy. You're
so
always
yeah,
gonna have that SoCon
okay, set it at
madness.
14 then. 14.5 we'll set it at. How about
14 and a half.
that? Get the hook in there.
There you go.
ETSU.
You think ETSU will win by more than 2 touchdowns?
Yep.
I think
Lock it in.
I think that they definitely could. I think that they should. It's tough to gauge what a team's going to do coming off of a bye week.
Right.
But I think that they were playing well going in. And I think that with getting a little bit healthier and getting some players back, I think they'll play even better coming out.
Yeah. I think we're going to see an offensive explosion this weekend.
One can only hope. All right, we'll move on. Georgia Tech at Virginia Tech. Hokies open as 9-point favorites, now 10.5-point favorites.
1.5 line move. A lot of that's probably because of the questionability of Haynes King.
Questionability? Is that a
quarterback? Yep.
word?
I made it one. Haynes King, questionable. That probably moved the line a little bit. Professionals are coming in on Tech. Roll the Hokies.
This is so tough because of that stupid little stat. It's like the LeBron stats. You watch the Kelsey Brothers podcast. They always do like their LeBron stat of the week where it's like the most obscure, weird stat. I don't like that visiting team has won 8 of the last 9.
Yeah.
I think that's a little scary, especially because Virginia Tech has played so inconsistently this season.
Right. Yeah, that's a trend you don't like to see.
But I would agree.
Trend breakers this weekend.
Trend breakers. But I would agree that if Haynes King doesn't play, it's definitely I think they should handle him by 10.5 points. Truly, I believe it's so tough because like if Haynes King is there, the offense looks completely different. He's such a mobile quarterback that like that concerns me a little bit with Virginia Tech's defense. But I think that they should be able to cover 10.5. I think maybe like 13, 14-point win.
Okay.
I could see.
Okay. That's a lock.
There we go. All right. We've got 2 special games this week as well. We have number 8 LSU, number 14 Texas A&M. Big SEC matchup. They're actually the only 2 teams that are still undefeated in SEC play to show just how chaotic the SEC has been early this season.
Yeah. And I don't see A&M continuing to remain unbeaten. LSU plus 2.5. Lock it in.
Lock in. You know, they both only lost their first matchups, have been rolling.
I think LSU is the best team in the SEC.
Right now?
Outside of Georgia.
And
so that loss at the beginning of the year.
You think LSU is better than Tennessee right now?
Yes.
Ooh, it makes them feel mad, probably.
I think they've lost a really good one of those weird games where you're playing a week 1 showdown with another good team on a neutral spot.
Didn't they play
and
USC who's like
is now bad.
Absolutely horrible?
So that's why that one, now looking back on it, that one stings. So, but outside of that, LSU's been playing some good football. So I'm going with them on the road here. I don't know. I don't know if I say money line, maybe, but plus 2.5. Close game. Even if A&M can game-winning field goal, win by 1 or 2, still lock her in.
I think A&M's got some real weird stuff going on down there. Their crowd and their little traditions are slightly cult-like.
College Station.
Just saying. But I think that it being a home game, I think that might make a difference there. But I don't know if I feel good about them winning by 2.5. I think they can win by a field goal. I'll go with A&M. Okay. We'll go on opposite sides here.
We need one of those.
And then our last game of the week, number 5 Texas at number 25 Vandy. Who would have thought that Vandy would be ranked 5-2 at this point in the season? I mean, when Virginia Tech lost to Vanderbilt week 1, I was like, this is the biggest embarrassment. Right. But Vanderbilt's kind of shown that they can hang with some teams. Not every team, but some of them.
Yeah.
Texas had their first loss to Georgia, who's arguably, one of they lost to Alabama. This is what I'm saying. The SEC has just been a little wild little mix, you know.
I will say I was right on that one.
Texas lost to Georgia. Georgia lost to Alabama. Alabama lost to Vandy. Let's go through the stretch.
I mean, that's when you get to the end of the year, you're going to see a string of that all through.
Oh, yeah.
Up and down the conference is why it's going to make that chaotic, picking the teams that are going to be left in or out of that 12-team playoff. So makes it interesting. I don't see Vandy pulling off another upset at home. Yeah. They already got theirs in for the year. They got their one for the year. Tore the goalpost down.
Yeah.
Carried it 3 miles.
Well, a lot farther than the Tennessee fans made it last year because they did not, or last week because they did not make it out of Neyland Stadium. That was a little embarrassing.
Yep.
I think we both agree that maybe we shouldn't be tearing down the goalposts every week.
Let's make a mark for that.
But
let's make that a standard. Yeah, I got Texas in this one.
Okay.
Big.
They're 18.5-point favorites. You're taking them to cover that?
Yeah. Vandy's had their one upset game of the season. Texas is coming on. They're ticked off. They just lost to Georgia. This is a blowout.
Yeah. I don't think that Texas loses this game. Let's start there. They didn't play well last week. They had 29 net rushing yards. That's bad. They didn't have much offense at all for most of the game. They took Quinn Ewers out, put Arch Manning in, still didn't really get anything going. But, I mean, that's Georgia. And it's like, people have been up and down on Georgia because they lost to Alabama. But Georgia is still one of the best teams in this country and has been for years at this point. But my hot take.
They might see him again.
My hot take is that Vandy covers the 18.5 point. Okay. I don't think that
it's a big number.
Give me like 17. They'll win by like 17.
Okay.
I don't know, but I think that Vanderbilt doesn't let them go up. Who knows though? That could be very wrong. Right. I don't feel good about that, but sometimes you gotta pick the underdog, even though I think Vandy's a little been riding that 5-2 a little bit too high.
Yeah.
You're 5-2.
A thin 5-2 line.
Yeah. All right. Well,
man, if we were betting D2, would you take Emory and Henry?
You know, that's tough. Emory and Henry is so confusing to me because I feel like last year they just weren't good. I feel like, in the nicest way possible, I really like going out and covering all of our D2 teams, but I feel like all of them struggled mightily last year. All of them got new head coaches for one reason or the other in this offseason. And clearly one has had a whole lot more success than the other two.
Yep.
Tusculum is really struggling.
Tusculum hasn't won a game.
Wise has, been in a lot of games.
Wise has held its own, and they only lost to Carson Newman by 12 last week.
Well, if they only lost to Carson Newman by 12, then I think Emory and Henry can handle.
They have a good chance.
But Emory and Henry almost lost to Tusculum. That was crazy, too.
Yeah, that was a bad week. But, I mean, Emory and Henry, they have a ranked win. They get a second shot. Carson Newman's ranked, so.
I think it would be crazy. I think, D2 on the rise.
Yeah.
Why do you say that with
that? Man. Anywho,
but yeah,
I
think both of us are picking Emory and Henry in that one.
Let's
go. We'll give D2 some love.
Give them some love.
All right. Well, that'll wrap up week 9 of the College Football Catch-Up Podcast. We'll have coverage from ETSU and Virginia Tech this week on Saturday. And then we'll, be back at it next week to give you a breakdown of next week's games.